Ted Cord and Michael Carter, two individuals so destined to become best friends that not even centuries of time could keep them apart. Much like it seemed, perhaps nature couldn't keep them from becoming superheroes. Ted Cord, better known as Blue Beetle, though not the first Blue Beetle, that was his mentor Dan Garrett, found himself unable to take the same mantle as easily as Garrett. Cord quickly discovered that though he was the logical successor to the mantle, the ancient scarab that gave his mentor special powers just didn't want to cooperate and unlock for him. That wasn't the end, though. Fortunately for Cord, he happened to be one of the DC Universe's smartest men, so he put his intellect, technology, and fighting skills to the test so that he too could be the legendary Blue Beetle. Did I mention centuries of time separation? Cue Michael Carter, aka Booster Gold, a rapidly rising football star from Gotham in the 25th century who let gambling in, pushing integrity to the side, learned the hard lesson after being exposed and disgraced away from any future career promise he once had. Carter eventually found a job working at the Space Museum in Metropolis as a night watchman, where he found an ancient tablet that, when positioned correctly, caused all of the museum exhibits to come to life at night. Wait, no, that's not right. No, Carter stole museum displays from past heroes and villains so that he himself could become a hero. You either die a disgraced football star or live long enough to steal things and become a hero. That's right? Among these stolen items was the ability to travel through time, which he used to travel backwards to a more modern to us time, where he knew he could easily pose as one of the heroes he spent his nights studying at the museum. Though it seemed the odds weren't in favor for either of these individuals, that wasn't enough to stop them from fulfilling what they knew was their destiny, and the DC Universe is grateful for it. Serving as heroes throughout the years, individually, as a pair, like in the 8-issue series Blue and Gold, even on the Justice League, where they squared off against the mighty Doomsday. No challenge has been too much for them to face, helping them prove that they've earned the status they fought so hard for. Speaking of the Blue and Gold series, McFarlane Toys has given collectors a chance to have this duo bring a pop of color to their shelves with a 2-pack that looks like it was ripped straight from the comic pages. Hey everyone, my name is Jonathan, aka JK of JK Collects, and remember, we'll be posting new videos at least twice a week, if not more, and if that sounds of interest to you, please click that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. In this episode, we are taking a closer look at the McFarlane Toys 7-inch scale Blue Beetle and Booster Gold 2-pack. Hello everyone and welcome back, and here we have our Blue Beetle and Booster Gold from the Blue and Gold 8-issue mini-series, comic series, the 2-pack. Let's take a look at the back and see, oh my God, look at that fun artwork. What a great way to just show just the silliness that these two characters can have, right, a lot of time in their series. Now, they can definitely be serious when need be, but just how silly is it? They're being chased by this massive horde of villains. And just look at the panic on their faces. But what a great little dynamic duo, right? Over on the side, Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. Typical McFarlane appearance, right? Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, Blue and Gold, right? So it's from that series. There they are posed. And I've noticed that there's two different ways that they're posed. This is where they're going away. There's another one where they're kind of headed towards each other. I don't know if there's a difference, but this is the one that I got. I know I got it a little bit earlier. It was on a pre-order. So maybe they changed the direction. Maybe they decided they didn't like them going away from one another since they're supposed to be best friends. Hey, look at that. I'm very excited. One of the little elastic pieces is already loose in there, so half of my work is done. No, probably 1/10 of my work is done. Anyway, all right, so let's pull it out. We got an empty box. So we'll move that out of the way. We'll get this giant tray out of the way so we can see. We've got like a nice little diorama piece for them to stand on, right? So just like a walkway with a lot of wires and cables and stuff. It is a gray color, and it's got a little bit of like a darker gray, kind of black wash to it. Can you see that? But this could definitely use some color detail added to it, right? Bring some life to some of these wires and these cables. Maybe black for these little grates. Just all kinds of stuff to really make this stuff pop. I mean, hey, even if these things were just painted black and maybe the occasional random color, but I digress. Or you know what? Just going by this color palette. How much fun would this be if it was made to match the color palette of these buildings here? There's our two stands, and here's our two collector's cards. Different art from what we saw on the back of the card. That's not very common, right? Most of the time we see the same art, even slightly different art styles, right? But there we go. That's our two guys. Two more cards for the collection. And now we bring Blue Beetle and Booster Gold in. Let's get these pieces out of here. Okay, so these guys are kind of strapped in. Let's get the little bits out first. The little accessory bits and bobs. These neat little things. Look at a little Beetle gun going on here, right? All right, so let's pull some tape because I don't want to take a chance of messing that up. And then some little gadgets, of course, for Booster. All right, now let's get to the usual cutting of the elastic. So we've got one around Beetle's wrist. We've got one around his waist. One around this forward knee. And let's see if that's enough. Booster lost his waist one. He does have some around his feet, his legs. There's one around the upper arm that's raised. And let's see if that is at least enough to bust these guys free. It looks like I maybe got them all. So come on, Beetle. Okay, so there is Beetle along with a piece of tape. And let's get Booster out. I don't know about everybody else. And you know, maybe judging not so, because I'll occasionally see this still on shelves in Target. I hope it's just like a restock. But I was very excited to see this duo come, right? Because yeah, I mention it all the time. We're headed towards an anniversary, right, of the Death of Superman story, and that was one of the biggest comic stories of my youth, right? So that one has just kind of resonated and stayed with me, and this duo was in there, and it was one of my first experiences with them. So it's just kind of it's great to see them represented, and to see McFarlane Toys bring them out, and from what I can tell, in such a great version. Okay, so here's this fun little thing, and this is his Booster's little buddy. Trying to think of the name right now. It's slipping my mind. It's like Skeets or something like that, right? Little robot buddy, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, there we go. So there it is, and it's in like a nice gold color, right? Kind of a bronzish gold. We've got the blue painted up here on the front, and you can see kind of the little raised eyes on there. And this is out of that cast, almost the same plastic that the base, right, the little diorama base was done, where it's got that grayish, the light gray with the dark gray kind of wash looking to it. So very neat, right? Very metallic looking, as is the gold on there. The paint looks pretty clean on it. Doesn't really seem like there's a lot of mistakes or errors or issues that I can speak of. So check for that. This little device, a little smartphone, right? Every action figure needs a little smartphone. Yep, so there's our design. Gee, I wonder what this is serving as a version of, or to kind of look like. Wouldn't it be cool to see like a screen on there, right? To have some kind of a fake display or something that they could see. But all in all, you know, tiny little smartphone. Nothing major, nothing stands out. The paint kind of rubbed off in a couple places. But doesn't that kind of make it more realistic, right? Like it's not brand new out of the box. Every smartphone's got a little bit of love on it. Here's a little blast effect, right? Coming off on this, it's got a wrist piece to attach. This looks like it is cast from a flexible blue plastic that's in that. That's a beautiful blue color. I don't know if it's really shining through on there, but it is a fantastic blue. It's almost like it's close to a Batman blue, like the Batman blue. The gold on this cuff looks like it was painted on pretty cleanly. I'm curious about how squished it kind of looks, but it is a very flexible plastic, so hopefully it can withstand a little bit of action, and of a similar color. I just love this little Beetle gun thing, right? So coming out, this is cast in that bronzish color, flexible rubber plastic with a little Beetle on the end. And then this little weapon is just in silver. And, you know, I always say that something could benefit from a wash to kind of bring out details. And yeah, maybe in these little vents or these little bits in the handle. But the style of this just seems like it should just be plain old silver, right? It just kind of seems like it should be that, because it's got that old sci-fi weapon look to it. Okay, so and when we went through the breakdown of the characters, we started with Blue Beetle. So why not start with looking at the Blue Beetle himself? What a cool design. It's a very basic male figure body that McFarlane now has, that they can do all kinds of stuff with, right? A lot of capabilities, a lot of possibilities, just with a different head, maybe some different paint, because all of this is cast and paint, and this belt looks like it's attached. But we'll get to that Let's look more closely at the head here. So yeah, not bad. A little bit of yellow tracking out right there beyond the eye. Can you see that? Just a tiny little bit, but no big deal. The face, nicely sculpted. I love the little kind of smirky grin on his face. They did a great job with the kind of rose, the blush along the face, along the top of the nose, and along the cheeks that we can see, and it pales down as it goes down to the chin. Kind of a pretty natural look to it. Head, a clean sculpt. Let's see how it does. Obviously the neck is attached to the torso. So side to, ooh, look at that. Yeah, that's good. That is a very good side to side, but not a very good focus. So there we go. Let's shift to that. Very good side to side. Yeah, not bad at all. So I'm thinking we're probably on that like a dumbbell, barbell, whatever you want to call it, because that is excellent flexibility. Up, fantastic. You know, that's definitely beyond straightforward, and then down also. We don't really have chin to chest, but it's as close as it can get without the neck really moving. So not bad. And then of course there's nothing in the way, so we've got full exorcist capability. Shoulders are obviously this butterfly joint, so we've got this little round bit that kind of comes out to help block the open gap that would be there if this was pulled out normally like it allows. So it just still looks like a complete piece. Good mobility. We got the bucky arm capability. This is a very round shoulder, so I'm optimistic about the bicep tricep and it not disappoint. We do have a costume line that comes down there, so posing can kind of throw that off depending on how much we twist it. Double elbow, still with pins, but again, I don't really know that McFarlane has ventured into saying they don't have it. I hope that they kind of start working on this elbow, because it does that kind of plateau, that straight line almost. That was something that was very off-putting on a Harley Quinn figure from the movie, The Emancipation. No forearm. The wrist does have the good old McFarlane wiggle and rotate capability, so good to see that. Both sides have the same capabilities and articulation. We have the McFarlane wiggle over here. Mid-torso, the crunch, yep, so back, pretty good. Forward, also definitely notable beyond what normal good posture would be. We've got rotation. We do have hip rotation. It's a little bit stiff at first, but it does move. This belt is a rubberized plastic, right? Cast. Seems to be fixed in place, but it is something that's certainly added after the fact with a little bit of yellow painted on it. Imperfect, but pretty clean all in all. Not bad. And it's very thick, so I don't see black showing through, so I'm happy about that. And anytime we have cast plastic rubbing on cast plastic, less likely, obviously, for paint transfer, because there's not any paint to transfer. Yeah, there's a little bit of, I think, the glue maybe that's holding the belt in place. You see that? A little bit of shininess right there. Okay, we've got that same McFarlane joint for the legs with the flexible external underwear section. So great flexibility right there. The Beetle split. No upper thigh. We do have the double knee, so that gives limber up capabilities. Not bad. Ready for a good Beetle sprint, the Beetle 5K. No calf, but we do have that good old ball joint like we have in the wrist, so we have full wiggle capability, including but not limited to the broken ankle, along with toe articulation. And does that not look painful? But we have that on both sides. One thing that's always important to pay attention to is making sure that the ball is lined up with the direction you ultimately want the foot to go, right? Because it does travel very easily. And right now I have it backwards, I think, so I need to rotate it maybe. No, I had it right. It just looked different because I had the foot down. Okay, so there we go. Yep, that's the Blue Beetle. Paint apps. So cast plastic with paint over it. Not bad at all, right? Look at the lines. They are very clean from the light blue to the black to the dark blue. The black lines are probably the most important, right? Because the dark blue could be an imperfect transition, but those black lines are going to go over it, just like trim in a house or what have you. So very well laid, very cleanly done. I am quite pleased with this one. They did a great job. Okay, let's check out Booster. Both of these are just just a great pop of color. Is it the same body? I think it is. I think they really did use just the same body, and that is, yeah, it looks like they definitely did, and that is totally fine, because, I mean, even just looking at it with a different paint scheme, I have to look closely. I'm sure plenty of you can just be like, oh yeah, obviously, there's all these details you immediately notice and say, yep, that's exactly the same. But I just have to kind of look at it, because how simple is it that a different paint scheme can make me question it? Now, one thing that I already see is mismatched yellow tones, right? So here, this cast yellow plastic with this paint versus this right here. All three slightly different shades. But before we get to that, let's take a look at this head. Look at that sculpted hair. Nice. And it almost looks like, okay, let's change to manual so you can see it along with me. I'm also severely washing it out with the light, so let's bring them down. Okay, so there, now we can see some of the casting of that, the sculpting of that hair. And it does almost look like it's different, like slightly different shades of yellow, like a yellow and a slightly more almost platinum in there. I could be absolutely making that up, but it really does look like there's a little bit of a lighter wash on top of that yellow. But very cool. Okay, so let's take a closer look at some of the other features here. The goggles, very well coated because you don't really see another color shining through, and you can definitely tell that is a thick coat of the yellow paint. For his visor, the head looks very clean all the way around. A little bit of yellow there in the seam where it kind of maybe pulled up or whatever, but all in all, not bad. Good job again with the blush around the cheeks, on the nose, and then paling as it comes down to the chin. Let's check out the side to side. I'm anticipating it being the same, right? And yep, so far so good. Up and down, yep, the same. And then of course we've got the rotation because we don't have anything blocking it. We do have that butterfly joint, so same arm mobility. We still have the Bucky capability. The paint on there just kind of throws me. The bicep tricep rotation, yep, same thing. Took a little bit of effort, but once it gets started, it's ready to go. Double elbow, same. And no forearm. We do have a little cuff on here, right? A little kind of soft rubbery goods cuff to bring a little bit of extra to it. So that's the beauty of this body, right? It's so sleekly made. You can easily just add little things to make it stand out and make it look different. And then the wrist has the rotation and the McFarlane wiggle. Once that ball starts to rotate, it was a little stuck, but once you free it, it can travel and do that full rotate. And then even right here, the little weapon beam thing on his forehand looks very well painted. Seems pretty clean. There is a little bit of blue kind of shining through, so maybe an extra coat of the yellow, and then same flexibility on the other side. He's got the ring, a little bit of blue kind of showing through it. Both of these could have used a little bit more yellow, but it is very similar to up here. It almost seems like an additional coat of yellow on these would have been better. Same mobility as far as ab, same mobility in the waist. No belt right there, so there's another piece that's kind of different, but of course Booster doesn't really have that, but it does have this flexible rubberized bit, and of course the same Booster split football star, right? Of course he's going to be limber and flexible. Same legs, so we've got same flexibility, right? And then, oh, nothing, that's, okay, that's neat. I'll come back to that here in just a second, because you can kind of definitely see paint like where it's showing through, some blue kind of showing through on that yellow. Foot does have that same mobility, so we can rotate it around, spin it, and then we can break the ankle, right? But the thing that stood out there is, with this being the same body, we've got the cuff for Beetle's boots. Booster doesn't have that, but it is still there in the mold, so it's just kind of painted over. So that is one thing where the reuse shines through. And, you know, not a huge deal. It really didn't stand out to me until I got to it. But now that I see it, I'm like, oh, yeah. That's one of those things where it's very obvious that it was a reuse or a repaint. But that's fine. We got two great figures out of it. This one, a little bit of paint opportunity. The star looks okay, right? It's very sharp. I appreciate that. Just so we can see different color matching opportunities throughout there. The rest of the paint, other than the things I've pointed out, like around here on the boots, here and here, everything is pretty clean. All right, so both of these very bright figures, a great little pop of color to add to the collection. So if you were thinking about getting it, I would say, you know, if you are a Booster Gold and Blue Beetle fan and you want that little bit of color pop in your collection, these guys are here to bring it, right? The blues, the yellows, all that. Or if you're ready to celebrate the Death of Superman anniversary and you want to try and build as much of that Justice League as you can, hopefully we'll see some more from that generation of the group come out. But there's two right there to accompany the Superman and all that you can get for him. Okay, well there we go. They stand just fine on their own, and we'll be back with some 360s. All right, there's our 360 of Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, clearly in a nice little selfie pose. So that tells you they're easy to pose. I am very thrilled with this 2-pack. If you haven't picked it up and you've been thinking about it, if you're on the fence, if you like these two, definitely grab it. Like I said, it's a great pop of color and just very well executed versions of these two characters. Thanks. Well, that about does it. Thank you for checking us out and for joining on this collecting journey as always. Look for at least 2 new videos each week, if not more. And if you got something from today's episode and haven't already done so, please subscribe and click that like button. It would really help us out and it truly would mean a lot to me. If you'd like to see some more videos, there are a couple of quick links on your screen right now for you to check out. But no matter what, as always, thank you for taking the time, and remember, we are all in this world of collecting together. Let's look out for each other. Thanks.